Did they go to court?
They did not go to court.
Okay.
They fought it out with the shovels and picks,
Uh,
so to speak. But they were the last Black family on the block. They were the very last family to go, and I think that broke their spirit.
In the early 20th century, developers and white citizens associations in Washington, D.C. used racially restrictive covenants to prevent Black residents and, in some cases, other groups from buying or even leasing property. These racial covenants determined who could and who could not live in neighborhoods across the city until 1948, when the Supreme Court ruled them unenforceable. But the impact of legal segregation in the nation and its capital was far from over. I'm former D.C. Mayor Sharon Pratt, and this is D.C. Divided: Segregation in the nation's capital.
when land was taken by eminent domain, that means that people were still compensated for their land, but they generally weren't compensated fairly. Or if they even there was such a so few places where Black people were able to move too. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more on the sort of the legacy of that, of what happened to your family.
Sure, sure. So, in looking at the impact and taking into consideration, I really had to do a little bit of legwork because my family didn't talk about it. It was not something that they opened up for discussion, if you will. But I went back to the federal census and noted that in 1910, the homes there were the market prices were so vastly different. 1910, our family's home was worth, or was estimated to be worth, $7,000, whereas other homes were listed as 15 upwards to 20,000 and beyond. Even though they had similar or even less than the amount of property that my family had. They had about an acre. But insofar as the psychological impact, it certainly did. I can speak for my grandmother, had terrible anxiety as it pertained to what she experienced. But it has a psychological effect. The traumatic loss of your home and community did lead to mental health illness within our family, PTSD, depression, and the like. It was hard to sort of get motivated to get up and go when you're constantly being torn down and removed from your nuclear space. We became scattered. There's family that I only recently connected with, Julie and Robert Sumner, my cousins, whose great grandmother Sarah was raised with my great grandmother Rosa. But after everybody scattered, they didn't really stay in contact, and I didn't know them until much later in life. We did not grow up together, and it's a tragedy. We lost that sense of community. Now, insofar as what my family was compensated for the home through eminent domain, they were offered less than what they originally offered because they took so long to cave in. So it was thousands of dollars less than what they were originally offered, but still below market value.
Did they go to court?
They did not go to court.
Okay.
They fought it out with the shovels and picks, so to speak. But they were the last Black family on the block. They were the very last family to go. And I think that broke their spirit. because their community, their surroundings were gone and no longer familiar. Um, so they had to leave. They had no other choice. They
Mhm.
had to go. The pressure was too great for them to bear.
The second question that is here is, did Jocelind Julien's family ever receive any justice?
No, no. Um, they lost their home and their um, land and never really rebounded after that. They just sort of moved along, if you will. They would revisit the area from time to time to look and see how it had changed. My grandmother worked at Chevy Chase Club. I'm not quite sure how long after they moved did she continue to work there, but she would have to go through the neighborhood to see, all the changes that were made, and just how that impacted her um, emotionally. We just sort of, ducked our heads and kept on moving. It wasn't something that they wanted to take to the courts. They just tried to do what they could to get by, keep the family afloat, find a suitable home in which to dwell, and just keep looking forward. But now, having said that, here comes me, to lift their stories and to sort of achieve a quasi justice, if you will, to be able to say what they didn't have the nerve to say for fear of retaliation. Obviously, I don't have any fear in that regard. So I come out here to tell the story and to let everybody know what happened to them.